Hello, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And my guest today, you know him from his early beginnings in Whiteheart to being an in-demand session musician, producer, but you also know him as a founding member of the band Giant, who are about to release their sixth studio album, Stand and Deliver, on May the 16th on Frontiers Muisc. Please welcome my guest, David Huff. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, man, on a Monday. Yes.
Easter Monday.
Yes, Easter Monday. Yes, sir.
Easter Monday.
All good, man.
So how are things in your land? We got a new record here, Stand and Deliver, coming out, and it seems like it's going to be the perfect anthem leading us into spring and summer. It's just got that comfortable, familiar, the melodies, the leads, the rhythm section, just all the ingredients that are just comfort.
Oh, man, thanks.
Comfort.
Yeah, man, it's been great. It's been like a trip down memory lane on this record because we actually grabbed some songs that were written in that era, and we did a deep dive on songs, and it just feels good, man. It feels good. It feels like there's the rock and roll is bubbling again, thank God, and a very much missed genre in the U.S. I don't know about Canada or Europe, but man, it has been a missed genre, and the power and the I don't know, man, it just feels good they put this record out. It really does.
Well, now the reception so far for their first two singles, they're Hold the Night, excellent first single, and then A Night to Remember, solid follow-up as well. And I've had the pleasure of hearing the record front to back, and I think everybody's going to be so pleased. And if not, there's some problems here because this is a
Yeah, thanks you for your kind words, man. The response has been great. It's always kind of tricky to see what people are going to say about Giant. Obviously, my brother Dan is, we're best friends, and we still work together every week. We have since high school, and it's hard to replace Dann Huff as a singer and a guitar player. But this lineup is I think is awesome, and it feels like it's got some of the original DNA of Giant from the first two records, and 2.0 obviously evolved, and man, it just, like I said, it feels great. We're really proud of this record.
And Kent Hilli, this is the second record that you've now done with him. He just seems to be really the perfect fit. If you can't have your brother in there, Dan, it just seems that this is really the guy.
Yeah, hang on, sorry. My phone's gonna get a couple messages. Okay,
no problem.
Sorry to go. Yeah, Kent is, man. After we did a record with Terry Brock, who was a great singer.
Mm-hmm.
We had some scheduling issues with his solo stuff, and Kent came to us through Frontiers, and we listened to a handful of singers. Kent just seemed like the perfect fit to us. He has a great rock voice, but he's got soul to him as well, like Dan had. Dan had a lot of soul, and man, he's just a pleasure. What a great guy, plus a great singer, and it's been a really good fit. I feel like he's taken over the reins for Giant singing,
And for those that aren't familiar with Kent, he's also has his band Perfect Plan,
mm-hmm.
that are awesome in their own right, also on Frontiers. And then you also have Jimmy, correct, on guitar?
Jimmy, yeah, man. We've been working with John Roth for years, and great friend. And once again, we had some scheduling issues with I think he was really busy working with Winger, had a bunch of touring, but also I think he was doing 2 records. So we had to kind of keep a schedule with Giant with our schedules, and we found Jimmy through Frontiers. What a great player! Oh my gosh! I mean, he fits in so well,
Once again, I feel having that ability to know how to leave space and let something breathe and building a solo with purpose. Like, it's just very tasty. And then he also brings kind of the mixing side of things as well.
Yeah. So he's a Swiss Army knife. Sorry about this. My phone.
All good.
Sorry. I'm just trying to get this up here. Come on, dude. This is low technology for Giant, believe it or not. Okay. Yeah, he's a Swiss Army knife. Dude can do anything. And I really like this lineup, and I hope the fans do too. So far, the response has been really overwhelmingly positive, and it means a lot as an artist. When you put stuff out there, you never know what you're going to get. Response wise, people, everybody's got opinions. It's all subjective, we just try to do the best art we can, and if it lands where people like it, man, that's a plus.
Well, like I said, front to back, this record is phenomenal. The flow of it is great. The
Oh,
ballad, yeah, it ain't over till it's over is great. Love that a lot. And then there's the three songs, like you said, that Dan is also involved in. Your brother
yeah.
Dan Huff on the album. Now, does he play on those tracks, or did he just help kind of get the structure, kind of the idea behind those songs out there, and then
Well,
Jimmy played them?
he played a solo on one of the songs. I mean, the rest, I'm not going to tell the listeners what song it is. That way they have to go deep diving. But I mean, Dan is who he is. These songs were written in the late '80s. Some of these songs, there was a handful of them with our good buddy Mark Spiro and Van Stephenson. Rest in peace, both those guys, great friends, comrades in the music industry, just giants in their own right. And like I said, we did a deep dive on songs just to kind of. I felt like Giant. It's hard to recreate the first two records. There's a bunch of reasons why, but one of the magic things was the era of the melodic rock and roll, the melodic and the guitar, which has not been prevalent in U.S. music, U.S. pop music, and so we did a deep dive to try to get back to some roots of Giant, and I felt like those songs really represented us well, and really put us in the headset of like, this is a Giant record. Let's make a real Giant record.
And you totally succeeded with that.
Oh man, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Now, is there a chance that you might do a show or two? Like, I'm sure touring is probably a bit, maybe not in the cards, just due to scheduling and other people's commitments. But is it possible to maybe see Giant do a handful of shows?
It is definitely possible. With the resurgence of rock and roll, I mean, it's like it actually is kind of a trick question for fans, because they think it's I'm trying to do a better job explaining it, because we are very busy producers. We produce a lot of records, and it comes down to to commerce. Like there hasn't been a situation where it's feasible to lose a ton of money to go play with our passion as Giant. We love this. But yeah, we would love to come play. We want to. We just encourage the fans to kind of demand it, and as demands rise, then it creates opportunities for us to go, hey man, we can do this, or we can do Giant. We want to play live. We actually played live a few years ago. A friend of ours lost his home in a fire, and his favorite band was Giant of all bands, and he asked us to if we wouldn't mind to help a charity. So we played 3 songs, and we got a different singer to sing, because Dan hadn't sang 25 years, and Dan called me the next morning, and he's like, dude, did you have as much fun as I did? It's like, dude, it's like riding a bicycle. The muscle memory was there, and it was like we really missed that that part of it. So the live part, yeah. So yes, like I'm putting it out there, man. We would love to play live. Get the fans, your listeners, to start to go, man, hey, we want Giant, and then that'll create the opportunity.
But with you and Mark and being so busy in the studio and so forth, is it fair to say that when it comes down to it, the Giant is strictly just a passion and perhaps something that you kind of need to get out of your system, that it's really nothing that you necessarily need to do, or maybe you do need to do it, but it's more you want to do it and you love to do it. And, because it's not that you need things to keep yourself occupied. It seems you have quite a busy regular schedule going on.
Oh yeah, we're busy. We're very fortunate that we're busy making music every day, and it's a need and want both in this sense that Mike and I are still the founding members that are still in it, and it's we miss it. We really miss it, and it's not like glory days. It's just we miss that style of music. We miss that genre. In the U.S., it just hasn't. It's just been a very dormant genre, and it's kind of sad, because what a great format. When you go see shows live, the rock is there's some rock and country, and I guess that's why my brother and I have gravitated to country, because there's roots in the rock world. I'm producing a band right now called The Retrograde. These guys are like the Black Crowes meets Kings of Leon, and I just finished tracking them in the studio. You know, they were on. They just did a tour with Creed, and awesome. So, I mean, to say that rock is coming back is for real, and it's fulfilling. I don't know. You know, I don't know if you what you believe, but when you put something in the universe, you know, when you're really positive, it happens. We were talking about Giant for a while. It's like, you know, Serafino at Frontiers was, we need to make another record, and it was like, okay, you know. So we started talking about it, and then so we did this record we love, and then now there's other bands coming to me to produce, and I'm like, man, this feels good. Feels good. This genre's coming back.
That's awesome. Now, for people though that might not be familiar with your producing side and your session stuff, can you fill people in on a bit of that? Because you've worked with some hugely names that people might not otherwise know about.
Yeah, you know, I've been very fortunate, you know, to work with. I mean, I got a lot of plaques and stuff, and um, music's just a hobby and a passion. You know, my brother and I started playing records in high school, and just have just done that. I've gotten to work with, you know, God, man, you know, country artists like Keith Urban and Martina McBride, Faith Hill, and Sarah Evans are all good friends, by the way. To Kenny Loggins, you know, with the Top Gun soundtrack, to, you know, R. Kelly. They just, I mean, to, I mean, Bonnie Tyler. I produced a record on Bonnie Tyler. You know,
To Jewel.
yeah. I mean, I produced the record
Philip
on
Bailey.
the. What's that?
Philip Bailey. How cool is that?
Philip Bailey. I mean, Earth and Fire. I mean, I played basketball with Philip Bailey after I worked on his record. You know, Bonnie Tyler freaking did a record with the Doobie Brothers. I mean, I brought them to Nashville to do a record because, and you know, so I mean, I've been very lucky and fortunate, and just I just love making records. You know, thank God you know, I've had the opportunity to do that. You know.
So now when it comes to Nashville, and let's say people particularly, let's say outside of the US, people in Canada or people overseas might often think, or perhaps even some people within America may think still that Nashville is country heaven, you know, just being Tennessee, like that's what it is. But that isn't the case, that there's definitely a lot of
Oh,
different arts, and knowing that there's more of even a rock scene going on there, and looking at people like yourself and people like label mates like Kip Winger, who lives in Nashville, or John Corabi, Dead
yeah.
Seas Motley Crue's in Nashville. What is it about Nashville that maybe other people might not quite understand from the rock community?
Yeah, you know what? Well, Dan and I grew up in Nashville, right? So we grew up here. I'll tell you in a simple term, it's Nashville. I didn't know it until I moved to LA. I got away from Nashville. It's like Nashville is a song capital of the world to me. It all starts with a song, and it's always been like that. It's known for country music, but man, I mean, every record label has a label here. All the pop labels have a branch in Nashville. Ed Sheeran comes here to write. Ed Sheeran's in town all the time, and um, a lot of pop people here, a lot of rock. I think because of the fact that it's a very much a music community as well, and the plethora of players here, the musicianship is off the charts. Back in like when Motown started, you know, it was everybody played in the room at the same time. LA was the king of that in the 80s and 90s. You know, LA, the pop music was, you know, everybody's tracking together, and it kind of migrated to Nashville. And Nashville seems to be the capital of that now. I mean, I do records from Dubai and Japan, you know, in Nashville. So everybody wants to come here, which is really cool. You can actually feel the creative energy when you get off the plane in Nashville. It's really infectious.
And it's, yeah, it seems very community oriented.
Yeah, very much community, very much so.
Now, going back to you talking earlier about hopefully that rock is coming back and that you're doing something particularly in the US that isn't really done anymore, perhaps even accepted anymore. And it got me thinking back to the debut Giant, you know, Last of the Runaways, and just kind of sliding in, you know, I guess date wise as an 80s album, but in many ways, I think it was more of a maybe an early 90s album as far as when it was really kind of catching on because it came out late summer 89. And I
Yeah,
think of some of your peers around that time of bands that I was into, and I find that there's a bit of a, I hate to use kind of the term scene, but it kind of was a scene of bands that don't, I feel, really get their due, that did still kind of slide in that window, but were very musicianship oriented, and were almost kind of a super group in a way when I look at yourselves and I look at let's say Winger or Mr. Big or Blue Murder.
Toto, you know,
Exactly. Well, but
yeah,
before that, but in that last chunk, just
yeah,
coming into the tail end of the '80s into the early '90s, I
yeah,
feel that there's that vibe where there was definitely before you like the Totos, the Journeys, the Foreigners, the
yeah,
REO Speedway,
yeah,
and the Night Ranger even that are still going
yeah,
great. But there was definitely that little pocket there of these bands, and then also thinking with your brother Dan, there being involved with Whitesnake as well. That I feel that that was kind of a spawn of that. Like
yeah, yeah.
that there's that era that Giant is definitely a part of that is maybe not received its due.
Yeah, I've been asked the question before, and I think we were 3 to 5 years late to the party. Not by choice, but by sheer design of how music is a moving target, and you know, had we been there 3 or 5 years earlier and had we had some radio success, and if we had piled on top of each other, I think like Journeys and those bands, they had the time and the hits, and they could just keep going. I think we just came late to the party, and unfortunately, music changed drastically with Pearl Jam and Nirvana, which I love that era, but it literally it killed the melodic rock, and so yeah, I mean, but I'm proud of the era, and I think we just came a little late to the dance.
Perhaps, but I kind of look back too, as much as, and I appreciate you mentioning Pearl Jam and Nirvana, and I don't feel the same way. Like some people feel that they destroyed things, but I also kind of look back too that perhaps there was a little bit of oversaturation with that
Yeah,
style. Because I also look at, I was meaning to also mention things like Damn Yankees, Bad English,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and Alias from here that was spawned from Sheriff
yeah,
that
yeah.
had number one U.S. hits. So it just seemed an interesting time that there were these bands that were, for all intents and purposes, kind of an offshoot or
Yeah.
kind of made up of session musicians, and it's just kind of interesting.
It's I think people are asking, like, how did Giants start? I mean, we were all playing on sessions, and this is not a job. This is like a passion. So when we get home, you play on records and you get absolutely inspired. What do you do with the energy? You create new music, and that's kind of like that's how Giant was, and I'm sure all the other bands too. Damn Yankees, and they're all session cats, and they're all other band members. And they like, hey, this band is kind of peeling off. Let's start another one. It's just the sheer love and passion of the music, and I think which creates new stuff.
Very much so. And then once again, I appreciate that you mentioned Toto because I'd say Giant in many respects is that sort of thing because again, having that kind of that jazz background as well with having Alan in the band, like that's huge.
Yeah,
Like
man, it's like jambalaya. It's whatever recipes you put together. You put Dan, our background, Mike Brignardello from Nashville, and then Alan. It's like, and it becomes its own unique situation. Alan's music, discography is crazy. I mean, obviously jazz you mentioned, but he toured with Dylan. He toured with Eddie Money. I mean, like he's been Santana. He did some dates with Santana. Like, dude's like a literal like genius, and yeah, you put all that stuff together and it becomes something very unusual. And then, but it's always Giant was based around guitar riffs, and so it obviously makes us rock. And anyway, it's the art form that I feel like it's all cyclical, right? Pop music is kind of it's looking for the next thing. Rock has been dormant in the U.S. It's bubbling, man. It's thank goodness it's coming back.
about time, about time.
About damn time.
Now you have so you mentioned Terry Brock, of course, and Jimmy once again from One Desire. That's awesome. Now I was trying to think of some stuff that you've worked on that perhaps or played on that isn't Giant related, that perhaps is maybe overlooked or something that maybe some fans should maybe look at purchasing. What are maybe some non-Giant David Huff
Oh,
related material that maybe somebody should go, hey, you should check this out. Go check this one out.
wow, that's a great question. What's funny, and this is not an act, by the way. Somebody goes, "Hey man, what are you working on?" I'm like, I can only remember what I'm like doing like today. I'm working on the band Retrograde, which is which is a new band coming out. They're young kids, and they're awesome rock and roll band. I mean, I don't remember. I barely remember what I had for breakfast. I don't remember what it's not because I have Alzheimer's, by the way. It's just I'm in the moment of music, and I worked on hundreds of records this last year. I couldn't tell you, man. I couldn't tell you what, like, what to go get. I mean, other than what I'm working on right now, it's pretty wild.
That's fair. So retrograde is the thing. That's what you're focused on. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
You want to be distracted and thrown back to something else that you're always looking forward. And it seems very crucial for yourself to be busy and creating.
Yeah. And I'm busy creating, I'm in the moment, whatever's right now. And what's in the past is like, yeah, I mean, I remember because I can look at some plaques and go, oh yeah, I worked with that, that guy. But yeah, I mean, it's just, now and there's other stuff I'm working on as well, that I'll pull up on my desk. And I'm very fortunate. I get to work with stuff all over the world and really good stuff. I mean, there's, with the pandemic, I think it really put into overdrive new art. And I feel like there's so many ways for artists to get out there now, not just on major labels. We work with major labels all the time, but also independents. And man, it just feels like this last 3 or 4 or 5 years has been the influx of new, really amazing art. I listen to a lot of stuff and I'm like, wow, I'm really inspired to make great music again.
That's the thing, is keeping creative, keep the engines going.
100%. 100%.
So back to Stand and Deliver, new Giant record. So looking forward to that. That will be coming out on May 16th, once again through Frontiers Muisc. You can pre-order it now on differentstagesradio.com. There's vinyl as well and CD. Any plans on any special packaging, any merch otherwise that people can look for? You got shirts, any sort of paraphernalia of that nature that people can get?
We want to come out with the original Giant shirts again, and we have we had a bunch made back in the 80s that had the Giant the big G logo, which was really cool. And so yeah, we're looking at getting some of those made, and if anybody wants one, reach out to me at David Huff Music on Instagram. They can come to me and we'll get some pre-orders going.
I'll come knocking.
Come knocking, man. I'll send you one for sure.
I appreciate that. Well, this was awesome. It was great talking to you today, David. I appreciate you making the time. And I'm so looking forward to the new Giant album, Stand and Deliver, May the 16th, Frontiers Muisc. Go buy it already.
Go buy. Hey, man, thank you for your kind words, man. It means a lot coming from you. Appreciate it.
This is Different Stages Radio.
Hell yeah.